Here we're going to examine how we inspect and jump through logic dependencies in Microsoft project schedules with the LLI edition of BPC Logic Filter. This is a 2000 task construction schedule that we use to illustrate things. First thing we're going to show is just the selection of one task in the schedule, and then we're going to use the logic inspector to look at the predecessors and successors of that task, along with a bunch of other information. And the first thing we try to do is we try to jump to a predecessor, and we get this message that says we're trying to jump to a hidden task. So it's that predecessor was invisible. So in this edition, first thing we have to do is remove all filters and make sure that all subtasks are shown. Next thing we want to look at are the user selectable fields in the predecessor and successor windows. So we want to select those to reflect what we're really interested in the predecessors and successors. So we make sure that the fields we're interested in are in the existing task table that is being shown here. And we open up the inspector preferences and select a couple fields to use in our logic inspector windows. So we're selecting two of these area by area and area fields. Now we'll reset the view so that we can actually see the Gantt chart. And now we can just demonstrate what happens when we open up the logic inspector and then jump through the activities of the schedule. Here we're adjusting the column widths in the tables to make sure that we can see what the field is, area by area and area. And now we're just jumping through, this is the first predecessor in each list that we're just automatically jumping through. There's a little scroll button here that allows us to expand or contract the window. And then we can select any predecessor or successor task in a window and then just jump right through the network and inspect. Now if we see a constraint highlighted, then in this case it means that the constraint was active and effective. When the constraint is highlighted red, that constraint has been violated here by an out-of-sequence actual date that was applied to the selected task. So that's the kind of information we get up here. Of course, we're jumping through a completed part of the project, so everything's got actualized progress on it. And we're jumping through this all the way back to probably the beginning of the project, but maybe not. Let's keep jumping as we see forwards and backwards, and we see these different constraints that have been violated. And finally we get back to the project start, or close to the project start. Here we go. And now there are no more predecessors. And now we can turn around and go forwards again and pick any successor that we want and jump to it. So we're continuing to go, and it's pretty seamless, and we can see whatever it is we want to see in the predecessors and successors. Of course, as its name implies, this edition of the Logic Inspector does not include the more advanced analysis and reporting functionality that you get with other editions of BPC Logic Filter. For example, this is the kind of Logic Inspector output that you can get if you're really interested in tracking through logic flow of a project schedule. And of course, this one includes early, late, relative float, and alternate versions of both of those, as well as detailed logic checking and hierarchical logic, hierarchical driving logic. But you do need a more advanced edition if you want to get that functionality.